Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Developing a Proper Worldview. This is episode number 75. We're continuing on in, what would this be, part 5 of our series. We're looking at martial law, the potential dangers of the authoritarian system, the control grid that they would have, the persecution that we could face in this New World Order system. So, as a reminder, if you are new to my channel and this is like one of the first videos you're seeing, or you just randomly come across it, these are done in a purposeful order, hence the title, Developing a Proper Worldview. Excuse me. So I do feel it is very important that you watch these in order to have a proper understanding. The New World Order system we're looking at is the beast system that the Bible talks about. It's the Revelation 13 beast system. It's a antichrist global conspiracy amongst the elites. That's not just about power and control, but that's very anti-Christian. It wants to get rid of the Judeo-Christian ethic. It wants to be able to sin without feeling bad. And we are the light of the world. We expose the unfruitful works of darkness. We shine light on their wicked deeds. And so they want to get rid of us. And it's important that you have that biblical understanding from the outset. And that's what part 1 is. And then part 2 is destroying the foundation of an anti-God philosophy that permeates society. It's the evolutionary viewpoint that really attacks and tries to discredit a biblical worldview. It mocks the Bible. It makes the Bible out to be some antiquated, silly story with no scientific backing. And so we show in part 2 that the theory of evolution is propaganda. It's not science. And part 3, we looked at the American Empire, because I personally believe that America is the muscle behind the New World Order system. It's the force, it's the means by which Satan is establishing this global beast system. And then we looked at part 4, the 9/11 conspiracy, because I just believe that in our day and age, that is the trigger event that really moved things forward in this New World Order scheme. And now in part 5, we're looking at the totalitarian technocracy, how they can control ruthlessly through military might and through technology. And so we started by looking at Police State 4, the Alex Jones documentary. And we're about 38 minutes through it. And so without any further ado, let's jump in and pick up where we left off. All right, here we go.
Well, I think terrorism is being practiced on the residents of the city of Oakland, because many of the retired teachers, retired military people have informed me that they understand what's going on, and it is not anything that relates to humanitarian training whatsoever. This is a psychological, as we in the research community say, this is a psyops. They're preparing people for what is coming, not what is being presented today.
So you're saying they're preparing people to accept it with incrementalism?
That is correct, like the old frog example. You put the frog in the water and you just grad.
I just want to point out, it doesn't necessarily have to go this way. The New World Order operates on so many different levels. It's not like they have one all-encompassing, detailed step-by-step plan. They have an overarching agenda of a one-world totalitarian system, economically, financially, through industry, through government, through religion, all under that umbrella. And they know the general idea of how they're getting there, through manipulation, through deceit, through propaganda, through order ab cow, order out of chaos, through fear manipulation, through brainwashing, through demoralization. But the specifics of how they implement those things varies, and that's why they have all these different think tanks. Like they might have the Club of Rome with one idea of how to get there. They might have the Bilderbergs with another idea of how to get there. They might have high-level Freemasonry with another idea of how to get there. The Roman Catholic institution with another idea of how to get there. And they're all doing all these various things to get there. The same goal, that same overarching goal, and the same general means, the same operating system, but the specific details of how to implement that operating system vary. And so martial law, while it's certain, like in the late 90s, early 2000s, it certainly looked like that might be the route they're going, with just enforced martial law, enforced prison camps, lockdowns, things like that. It nowadays, when you look at it, it looks like it would be more medical and technologically enforced. It seems like they have people subdued where they'd be able to get this together in a more intellectual way. So you have that medical tyranny, you have the technology tyranny, you have the military tyranny, the industrial tyranny, the religious tyranny. Again, all with the same operating system. They're going to use order out of chaos. They're going to use fear manipulation, propaganda. But then exactly how they do that varies. And so we see changes in the style throughout the years. Whereas it looked like this was the route before, nowadays you would look at it and go, I don't know if they're really going to do FEMA camps. They certainly have that in place, so if they need to, but they might just do some sort of, how do I say it without getting banned on YouTube, some sort of plague type event to scare everybody into submission. X, Y, and Z is affecting the world, therefore you must do what we say in order to keep everyone safe. So they might just end up voluntary lockdowns. People just might lock themselves down, and they wouldn't have to enforce martial law. But either way, it's a video like this is interesting to see. Okay, they have this set up, and either way, once that system is in place, then it will be martial law. That Christianity will be banned. We will be outlawed in a piecemeal way. At first, it'll probably be no proselytizing. There's countries that have anti-proselytizing laws. You can believe whatever you want. You can worship whatever you want. You're just not allowed to go and try to convert other people. So that would probably be step one, and then that would entail like outlawing public preaching, gospel tracts, things like that, bumper stickers, things along those lines. It would be more like keep your faith to yourself. And then the next step would be probably attacks on churches, shutting down non-government sponsored churches. Like in China, they have the Three Selves Church or whatever it's called. It's a government sponsored church. In America, we kind of have that too, where at least we have the blueprint with it, with 501c3 tax-exempt churches. They agree, in order to get tax-exempt status, to fall under the edicts of government control. Although the government really doesn't enforce anything, the system is in place for enforcement. And a lot of times people will say things like that. They'll be like, well, nothing bad's happening. Well, the blueprint is in place. They didn't set that scheme up. They didn't set the blueprint up for nothing. They didn't go and build 100 FEMA camps all across the country for nothing. That blueprint, people say, oh, they're not putting anybody in FEMA camps. Yeah, now, but it's in place. It's ready to go so that when they activate it. So it's important to see things like that, because even if this isn't the way they go to bring it about, we need to see that they have the military might They have the submission of the vast majority of military and police who are now just conditioned and taught and trained to follow orders, not defend the Constitution. And they have the technology to track us, to track everything you do. I mean, they already are. You know, I got my 3 work computers, I got my home computer, I got smart TVs, I got a phone right here. Every one of them has listening devices in it. I mean, I'm verbally recording here. The fact that you can put something on YouTube and within minutes, if you say the wrong words, it's banned, it's blocked. That shows you that they're listening to everything, and their algorithms are triggered by certain keywords. And so, and everybody knows that. Everybody knows that if you talk about a certain type of product, the next time you get on your phone and go to scroll through social media, that advertisement for that product is going to be there. But so it's important to see. I guess what I'm trying to say is it might not go this route to get us into this system. It might go a different route. As of right now, I don't think it would be just fascist SS Nazi officers patrolling the streets and locking us down. I think it would probably be more a financial collapse or a medical emergency, and then them saying we need a worldwide government body to control this, to get this under control. For a while, it looked like they were going to use global warming for that, through carbon taxes. In order to enforce a carbon tax on the entire world, there needs to be a global governing body that can enforce that tax. And so it looked like they were going that route. And for a while, it looked like they just might go, hey, everybody's military lockdown. We're doing it, and we're forcing you to do it. And now it looks more like it might be more subtle, might be more just here's an outbreak, and we need world government to control this, or some sort of financial collapse or something along those lines. Who knows? But like I say, they have all the details of how they're going to do it vary, but they're going to use deception and manipulation, and the goal remains the same.
Gradually continue to raise the heat on the water until the frog is cooked. And that's the way it works. The problem is that the local people in general, just will not take their heads out of the sand. I'm going to tell everyone.
And everything I said was just theory. I don't know how they're going to do it. All we know is that the Bible tells us there will be a world government, and there will be a mark of the beast. There will be a worldwide financial system, and this world system is going to be anti-Christ and anti-God. That's what we know for sure. And then we look at the world, and we can see the kings and the rulers of this world talking about implementing that, using the phrase New World Order. We need world government, talking about doing that, talking about implantable microchips. We see them doing that. And then we see deception everywhere we look. We see lies and false flags and fear tactics and manipulation. The rest of it is all speculation. We really don't know what they're going to do, how they're going to get it there. We just know that they're working towards it. The exact details of how they're going to go about doing it is an unknown. So what I'm saying is theory. It might be something completely different. Some people think they're going to fake an alien invasion and use that to unite the world. I'm a little bit skeptical of that one, but who knows? Who knows what they're planning?
When I can, listen, we have a serious problem.
And it's called a police state.
It's called a police state.
Let's go ahead and get to this. I mean, you want to see, what goes with FEMA camps like a horse and carriage. Troops, militarized police, training with the Army to take over your cities and towns. Let's go ahead and play this YouTube clip. Martial law is coming from News 7 at 11.
The scenario was a fake, but the pepper spray and billy clubs used to break up this riot were definitely real. Good evening, I'm Miranda Stevens. Whether it's terrorism, riots, or any major disaster, local agencies will be the first to respond. That's why Roanoke City wants its disaster training to be as real as possible. Jeremy Butterfield has more.
It's supposed to look like a riot, and the scene at William Fleming High School had all the elements.
One of the rioters that the guard and the police force had to take down and arrest, and did very successfully.
In this scenario, everyone has a role to play. The rioters were ready to fight back as Roanoke Police, Roanoke Fire, local National Guard troops, and members of the Virginia Defense Force secured perimeters and moved in to make the arrests.
Prior to 9/11, these organizations couldn't communicate and did not work together. They worked to support each other, but not together. And with the recent events of the last 3 to 5 years, we've become very good at working together, which is very important.
Of course, these weren't real rioters. The rebels in t-shirts were all members of one of the participating agencies, but you couldn't tell that during the exercise.
So again, I just want to point out, I think I've mentioned before, there's a law from like the 1870s, I think it's called Posse Comitatus. It's a federal law that prohibits the military from being used as a police force or for being used within the boundaries of America as a police force, and there's very good reasons for that. The police are supposed to protect and serve the people. They're supposed to protect and serve and protect our constitutional rights. So they're supposed to be trained to protect and serve. Military is supposed to be trained to kill and conquer. And so when you bring people in with that kind of training to kill and conquer, to use against your own citizens, that's tyranny. And so that law was put in place to prevent that. Things like this go against that law. As far as I know, that law was never repealed.
If you weren't protected by an orange vest signifying you as an observer, you were in danger of being hit by eggs, bottles, billy clubs, or even the occasional well-placed round from a sniper.
We try to make this very real, give a real feel to it. We had the fire department provided some live burning out here, so we had smoke, flames, objects being thrown, a lot of chaos. There's going to be a lot of chaos in a civil disturbance situation, and that's what we want to try to incorporate as much as possible.
Teamwork plays a major role. Mountain Police had to coordinate with the fire department, while National Guard troops marched in formation toward the rioters. Without cooperation throughout all the agencies, the rioters would have quickly taken control.
I think everybody learned a little bit. Mistakes are made, but we'd rather make those mistakes here than in a real situation.
This was the 4th year the agencies have participated in this drill, and organizers say the old adage, practice makes perfect, certainly holds true in the face of disaster.
And then, see, you talk about this, and mainstream writes articles about me like I'm crazy, making up troops and troop deployments when it's the Army Times, the Army War College. Hundreds of newspapers have announced it, and then I say, hey, that's tyranny, and they go, shut up, Jones doesn't exist. InfoWars story on illegal Tennessee checkpoint prompts action by governor. Friday, listeners pointed out local news saying the Army was going to be out, regular Army running checkpoints, searching citizens with police. The governor got called, our listeners called.
The Whiteville Police Department had plans to conduct a seatbelt checkpoint on Saturday, April 4th at Highway 64 within the city limits of Whiteville. The checkpoint was planned to be in conjunction with Homeland Security and the 251st Military Police in Bolivar. After learning about this, I contacted Representative Johnny Shaw, who represents that area, ask you about this. Representative Shaw, you looked into this, and can you tell me what you've learned and where this stands now?
I can. Actually, this has been canceled. Some calls were made to the governor's office about this on earlier today, this Friday, and of course the governor just simply said, I don't need another headache. It was a bad idea in the first place. I mean, during this climate and this day and time which we live, can you imagine the Army stopping you for a seatbelt check?
We'll follow up with you on that, sir, and find out what steps are taken to protect, to see that something like this the public is notified in the future.
Definitely we will, because the public should have been notified if it was going to happen, and I'm going to make sure that I call all of the local authorities and ask them not to do this anymore, but if they should even attempt to make sure that they contact people like myself and make sure that people are notified as to what is going to happen.
Representative John Shaw just joins us for a few minutes, representative from Tennessee, District 80. Sir, thank you for coming on with us.
Sure, you're welcome. Thank you for having me, Alex.
You bet. Now, we played the clip earlier of you on a local news station talking about Army checkpoints. The governor found out, thanks to you and others, and canceled it. Can you just in a nutshell tell us exactly, specifically what was going on?
Yes, I can. First of all, I have got to check. Now, I don't have concrete facts, but I don't think the military has, first of all, any jurisdiction to be checking seatbelts. When you look at the fact of a military unit being out, your daughter, my wife, or someone driving through a roadblock with all of these local officials, the Army and everybody out there, I think it's just going to scare people to death. I think our local and state officials have the staff when needed to check seat belts, to do a seatbelt check without the Army getting involved. And I just don't think it's a good idea.
Well, obviously, sir, I don't know if you've heard, but yes, it still violates posse comitatus. They haven't completely removed that 1878 law. We know in Mexico and communist China they have troops on the streets. This is a sign of a banana republic, of a third world police state, so that we don't want that. But the larger issue here is that they've announced Homeland Security wants to put 20,000 regular Army troops to patrol America. The Naval War College, the Army War College has said their new job will be engaging us, combat with the American people to stop an insurrection against the banks. So, A, are you aware of that? B, can you tell us specifically what units, why the Army was going to be out running checkpoints?
Well, I got this news late on Friday, and when I got the news, I immediately jumped on it to try to call some local authorities that I knew first to see what was going on. And when I made the call, I found out at that point in time that the governor had already made the decision to cancel this, and which I was very proud of that. But I am not aware of Homeland Security doing this. I did hear that they would be involved in this roadblock issue on last Friday, but I am not aware of the other part of the question that you asked.
Okay, specifically, though, when you talk to the local authorities, whose idea, where did it come from that regular Army is going to be out running checkpoints? I mean, a checkpoint is unconstitutional if you don't have warrants and it's random for the police to do. Now the Army? I mean, again, sir, this is suddenly happening everywhere. This is part of a larger plan. So we as detectives are asking you, any other little tidbits you've got about who was behind this?
Well, and I don't know, Alex. I can't answer that question other than the fact that it was going to take place in a little area of my district in a town called Whiteville, Tennessee, which would lead me to believe or to assume that the chief of police there was the one who orchestrated this idea.
Was the state involved?
Not to my knowledge at all.
Okay, so the governor had to say no. So this is what we always see. The Army then probably approached some locals as part of their covert acclimation program. And State Representative Johnny Shaw, we appreciate you speaking out against this. We appreciate the governor saying no to this. Can you, just in closing, speak to why you were concerned about it and against it?
Well, again, I was concerned because I think in this economic climate, or in this climate that we are in, well, can you imagine your wife, your daughter, my wife or daughter, even son driving up to a checkpoint with Homeland Security, the military police, the state police, if they were involved, and then, of course, all of your local authorities? It's going to make someone think something bad has happened in the community, and I just don't think this is a good idea. I think it would have been a scare tactic that would have been hard for some of our citizens to get over, or maybe some of our senior citizens, and I'm told.
This just gives you a little forewarning here. If anything was to ever go down in our lifetime, and you, especially like if you're living in a large city or something and you got to try to get out, stay off on major highways and freeways, they'll definitely have checkpoints. They'll have things locked down. So be wise, be smart, think things through. We're seeing the kind of system that they'll have in place. It gives us a little idea. I mean, the control grid that they have. I mean, if you're on your phone, think about everywhere you get phone coverage. Everywhere you have phone coverage, they have tracking ability. Or even like when you don't have phone service, your GPS on your map still works. It still pings your location and shows your location. Like I think I've mentioned before, I've been out camping in the middle of nowhere before and pulled up my map because I didn't have phone service, but the map showed exactly where I was. So, it's only by the grace of God will we be able to escape this kind of things. And we have our hearts prepared for that. If this kind of persecution comes in our lifetime, if this happens in our lifetime, the scriptures tell us that here is the patience of the saints. We're going to be persecuted. We're going to be hunted down. We're going to be imprisoned. We're going to be killed. Some of us may escape it and be able to flee, but I think probably the vast majority of us are going to be imprisoned at least, and probably martyred at the worst. But Luke 12:5, don't fear those who can kill the body, rather fear him who, after he has killed the body, can cast into hell.
Against this kind of a tactic, and I'm going to do my best as a state representative to see that this does not happen again in my district, and hopefully nowhere in the state of Tennessee.
Now, this is being done to acclimate the public so they don't panic when troops take over the city hall, the county, the state. This is high treason. And Obama has taken all these new powers that Bush claimed and has expanded them day one. And suddenly the left that was against it isn't saying a thing. So that's part of the preparation. Guardsmen to conduct urban training at Arcadia in April. This is going on, scaled back now. It says in this article, going door to door, asking if they can search homes looking for weapons. And they practice raiding the local gun shop. And this is for domestic operations. Lieutenant Colonel, I really appreciate you coming on such short notice, sir.
My pleasure. Thanks for the invitation.
You bet. I saw this article out of the Daily Times Herald in Carroll, Iowa. Have you seen that?
I sure have.
And it's telling us about an urban warfare drill to be held in several towns. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. It's actually a planned training event to provide our soldiers with greater proficiency at what we call cordon and search, which is a mission that, just for a little background, we've deployed nearly 13,000 members of the Iowa National Guard in the global war on terror. And the vast majority of those have been in Iraq and Afghanistan. And one of the missions that they perform in Iraq and Afghanistan on multiple occasions is cordon and search, where basically you are trying to get to an area, cordon it off to make sure everything's safe, and then actually search for caches of weapons or other kinds of contraband which could harm American forces and other
like Fallujah, what we saw in
Correct.
Fallujah. Mm-hmm.
Correct. Exactly. So because of where we're located in Iowa, there are no active duty bases in Iowa, so we kind of have to create our own urban training environments. So the plan on this particular training event was to actually use a small town of about 450 people. The town has actually kind of adopted the unit, which is called Company A, 1st Battalion, 168th Infantry, and they were more than willing to participate in the exercise.
Going through this article, I mean, explaining exactly.
Just want to point out the fear manipulation, order out of chaos. You'll notice he used one of the trigger words, global war on terror. Like, they use that to justify trampling on or infringing upon the constitutional rights of American citizens. And because the citizens are afraid, and when they're especially in wartime, they're in that patriotic mindset, do this for country, they're willing to lay down rights, to allow things like that to happen. That's the manipulation part of it.
What they're going to do door to door with the houses, what the checkpoints are going to be simulating.
Sure. When you're talking about cordon and search operations, you've got several different rings of security that you've got to provide in a particular area. And then it's important that people are treated respectfully as you go house to house, as you're looking for certain items, particularly in our experience in Afghanistan and Iraq. looking for weapon caches, whether those have AK-47s, RPGs, rocket-propelled grenades, that is, any kind of ammunition or any kind of improvised explosive devices, et cetera, et cetera. And our job, when we go on a coordinated search, is to locate those kinds of items. And then there might also be persons of interest that we're interested in, that coalition forces want to talk to or apprehend.
Well, let's just boil it down to this. I have video of Army and Marines with role players screaming, "I'm an American, please don't put me in the camp," and the military trying to confiscate their firearms. I mean, certainly you've heard the Army Times and the new directive from Secretary of Defense Robert Gates that they will use the National Guard under federal control for civil insurrection. Are you saying you're not aware of that?
No, I'm certainly aware of that, absolutely. But I think you have to look at the role of the National Guard historically. Is that historically we are used in states for disasters overwhelmingly. And our job is to, number one, be ready for our mission federally, which is to go to war. And number two is to help our fellow citizens here in the United States of America. Those
But
are
the Army
that we prepare for and train for.
The Army War College 3 weeks ago issued a report saying they're shifting a lot of their focus to engaging the American people and directives on engagement with the American people under NORTHCOM.
Well, you got to remember that the National Guard, 99% of the time, if you're talking about peacetime, belongs to the state in which they are located. Only on occasion do they become federalized. One of those examples, of course, is being mobilized and deployed to go to war or peacekeeping or other kinds of federalized missions. But other than that, the National Guard generally in peacetime belongs to the governor of that state.
Well, you're pretty informed on all these issues. Obviously, you're right in the middle of it. Did you hear about the mainstream news articles about Marines in California and other places helping at DWI checkpoints with citizens? Would that violate posse comitatus?
I'm not aware of that. With respect to active duty military, that's called Title 10 when you're on active duty, and they're not allowed to participate in certain kinds of operations under the Posse Comitatus Act.
Does that sound like freedom to you all over the country to have the National Guard at big events like at the Kentucky Derby and the Super Bowl searching bags?
Well, I think if you're talking about keeping Americans safe, it's our job to do whatever we can to help them with that.
Remember what Ben Franklin said, those who are willing to trade no, I done lost the quote. What did he say? He said those who are willing to trade freedom for security deserve neither security nor freedom. Basically, well, we're living in a scary time, so we got to do what we got to do. That's that mindset. But the whole constitutional republic was set up to safeguard us from tyranny regardless of their excuse. It doesn't matter if the world's burning. You're not allowed to violate my constitutional rights. I'm supposed to be protected. My freedom is supposed to be paramount. And your freedom, every individual's freedom, is supposed to be the primary thing. Nothing is supposed to infringe upon that. Not a disease that's wiping out 99% of the population, not nuclear war, not anything. My rights are not to be infringed upon. But they flipped that whole thing because they realize, man, once people are scared, they're willing to give up their rights.
And if our job happens to be to detect weapons of mass destruction or other kinds of things that could harm a great deal of people, that's what we do.
Now, here's your Pentagon Channel report.
The Kentucky National Guard was part of the massive security force required for this weekend's Kentucky Derby. Officials say that 360 Guard members were on hand at Churchill Downs to help support law enforcement efforts for the first leg of horse racing's Triple Crown. Now, the troops took care of crowd and traffic control, provided 3 choppers and crews for aviation support. Officials at the track said that more than 150,000 fans turned out for the race. Police only had to make 44 arrests.
So you might say, like, well, what's wrong with that? There, of course, the Kentucky Derby, there's 150,000 people there. It's a terrorist hotbed. Terrorists might want to blow it up. We should have it protected. But the problem is, you have a constitutional right to be secure in your person's papers and so on and so forth. Like your private property. You're not, by the Constitution says that you don't have to present identification to an authority figure. You have the freedom to live your life and just be, to go through checkpoints and show your papers is unconstitutional. And they say, oh, it's no big deal. We should be willing to do that in order to keep things safe. The problem is that is setting a precedent for the future when they're going to be looking for Christians, where they're going to be, you have to show your mark, reveal your mark. So it's setting up the system that's going to be used to persecute us. And so to see it coming into fruition, to see it being implemented, causes us to go, whoa, we might be living in this time here. Things are happening. Be alert, be on guard. Because, right now it's a war on terrorists. All they have to do, though, is redefine what a terrorist is. All of a sudden it goes from Al-Qaeda and the Taliban to born-again Christians, Second Amendment supporters, pro-life advocates. Those are the terrorists. Those are the bad guys. Oh, they're anti-transgender. We got to get them, and so that's the problem, is the system is being put in place, and their end goal with the system is to get us. It's not to get Al-Qaeda. It is to get us. And so the whole thing is being propped up and put forward, and we're seeing it happen, knowing that we are the end goal. We are the target in the end. And so that's why, we look at it not with concern, because concern implies some sort of fear. Again, I have to emphasize, we don't fear this, but we're on alert. We're on guard. We're watching. We're aware. The Lord told us to be aware, to be on guard, to watch. And that's what we're doing. We're going, whoa, it's certainly looking like things are about to kick off. I better be ready. I better have my heart prepared. I better be praying about this. I better be thinking it through. I better be thinking, if the X, Y, and Z happens, what do I do? Where do I go? What are my options?
International media, government staffers, and protesters.
Thousands of them, all waiting for the G20 summit to begin. World leaders arriving in Pittsburgh for the G20 summit are finding a city on lockdown and already hit by violence.
By order of the City of Pittsburgh Chief Police, I hereby declare this to be an unlawful assembly. I order all those assembled to immediately disperse.
The G20 basically represent the largest nations which participate in the Western banking cartel, which I feel is behind a lot of the pain, anguish, and misery that exists in our world today.
They would like to come up with one central bank for the world to replace the dollar standard, and also have...
And they're rolling out that digital currency, which is going to make it super, super easy to combine all digital currencies into one currency. Keep an eye on that whole China-Russia deal. The Chinese, the Russians moving away from the U.S. dollar, going to the yen or yuan or whatever it's called, the Chinese yuan. And other countries, I think like Saudi Arabia, saying something about that. That's going to cause economic disaster here, but it's also going to give motive to unite the world currencies in this new digital currency.
International regulation, massive expansion of the WTO regulations into the financial markets.
You must leave the immediate vicinity. If you remain in this immediate vicinity, you will be in violation of the Pennsylvania Crimes Code, no matter what your purpose is.
It's hard that it's setting up as like a us versus them when we're all in the same class. We're in it together, and they're protecting the interests of the world's billionaires. Anytime I've been on a march or anytime I've been arrested, it has been peaceful on our side. It's the state are the ones that cause the violence.
You must leave. If you do not disperse, you may be arrested and or subject to other police action. Other police action may include actual physical removal, the use of riot control agents and or less lethal munitions.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is breaking news. Do you know why my crew is not live with us right now while they were out of contact? They are under sustained LRAD sound cannon attack. They roll these out at tea parties in California and other places. First time I saw them was 2004 in New York. They have the National Guard engaging American citizens right now with deadly acoustic weapons that damage the middle ear. This is happening right now in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, while the G20 in mainstream news is getting rid of the dollar, bringing in world government against everybody right now. Listen, this is such a police state there that they tried to talk to the military and talk to a spokesman last night. Defense Link put a press release out, and they said, no, we're not going to talk to you, get out of here. Then they got their license number, had the police pose as Alamo rental car people from the county there, Allegheny County in Pennsylvania. They called them and said, oh, your car's got no brakes, bring it in. And they said, well, we're in the cordon at G20, we're news reporters, we can't get out till tomorrow. And they said, well, that's fine, because I'm a police officer with the Army and FBI, and you've all been put on terror list, and your life's over, boy, and we know you're a terrorist, and you were sneaking around the military base and ran. All lies.
Okay, so I just went over, they're going to have a guy come out and talk to us, or they said they'll get us a number to contact, he said the PAO. This is probably him right here.
Every 30 seconds, saying disperse, disperse. We've got them. Let's go to live now. Here they are from Pittsburgh. G20 under attack.
Yeah, we're on 33rd and Liberty, and we just passed they had the street blocked off, and they were using the sonic weapon on us. They were using it to broadcast, and then they would ramp up the signal for a brief second to let them know that they could, blow some eardrums out. It got pretty loud.
I hereby declare this to be an unlawful assembly. I order all other police actions to include actual physical removal, the use of riot control.
Everybody dispersed, though, when that started happening. The one group, the largest group, went through an alleyway. They're driving right past me right now.
Get them on tape.
With the gun. They had two of them. They were using them to broadcast messages in Spanish and English. That's the engine right now. You can hear it passing me. And there's a guy sitting on top. The police I'm seeing now are in full riot gear.
Are they the police, though, wearing the National Guard bottoms?
It looks like Border Patrol. I've seen Border Patrol here, too. They have the dark green Border Patrol uniforms.
So federal police in the middle of Pennsylvania.
I find it very ironic that it's happening on Liberty Avenue. Very ironic.
Burbas, I want to be clear about this. They were shooting you guys with this. Douglas was saying it was hurting. What was this like?
The decibel level was very, very high. One moment I was covering the front of the protest. The next moment my eardrums were blasting. And as that happened, I basically turned around, saw about 40 riot police assisted by military, and I ran up and I got all the footage I could. Every once in a while I'd have to take
There you go, assisted by military. So this is the military attacking the American people, because in every news article I see, they're together. So that's key for the article Watson's doing. The military was with them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they were in military fatigue. SWAT is also here. I got a good shot of one of the military personnel whoing on top of the Pittsburgh paddy wagon. Basically, most of the Humvees in the military were cordoning off at checkpoints on Main Street in the main city of Pittsburgh. They were in full military fatigues. I mean, these weren't just the pants; they were the tops. There's no doubt that there's military here, Alex. I approached them. I asked them what their mission was.
What's the mission? You can't say? Sir, what would you have to say to critics that say this is a violation of posse comitatus?
I would say that you need to talk to my PAO.
You know what posse comitatus is? No. No? Separation of military and police? Be the first military guy to tell me what it is. I've asked about a dozen today. No, but nothing, right?
And it was the standard boilerplate answer of, we're just following orders.
We're just here to support law enforcement. That's all we know. We're here to protect.
You see how dangerous that is? Like, we're here to follow orders, support the police. Rather than thinking the way they're supposed to think, I'm supposed to protect the citizens. I'm supposed to protect their constitutional rights from the system, from the authorities. They got it all reversed now, and these people, most of them, there are some military and police that take their constitutional seriously, but most of them probably don't know what the Constitution even says, and they're just trained to follow orders.
We're here to protect United States citizens' rights to a peaceful protest.
Unbelievable. Global leaders meeting openly in mainstream news to get rid of the dollar and bring in, quote, global governance. This is the end of our country, and the police and the military are acting like people that don't like it are pure scum and terrorists because the DHS has trained them to do that.
Here come the anarchist staging. Here they come right now.
They just grabbed the dumpster. They're flipping it over in
Video it!
I got it on tape right now.
Oh, I don't want to put you in danger, Jason, but if you follow that stinking Fed, is it a big guy?
All right, it was 3 people, and of course they had masks on, Alec.
Briefly, tell folks about last night. You guys pull up to the gate. You asked to talk to the public information officer. They called the police and lied.
The reason he was asking about who flipped over the dumpster, usually, or I shouldn't say usually, it's suspected that in most peaceful protests, the military or the government will send in undercover agents as provocateurs to cause the chaos. They're usually the ones that throw the bricks through the windows, that set the cars on fire, to set the stage so that the military can come in full force. It's usually not the protesters. Most protesters out there peacefully protesting against the World Bank system at the G20, they know, hey, the military's looking for a reason to mess us up. You know, we're outnumbered, outmanned, outgunned. It would be foolish to fight. We're just exercising our constitutional right to protest. The riots are usually started, I shouldn't say usually because I don't know. It's suspected, and it makes sense that the government sends in these provocateurs.
And said that you were sneaking around.
Yes, sir. How's it going? We were responding to a news story that the National Guard was going to be masked to go into Pittsburgh. And could we get a comment on that?
Sorry, we can't make any comments, sir.
Do you have a press guy we can talk to?
Yeah.
We then pulled off to the side of the road where they instructed us to. We waited around 15 or 20 minutes. A representative came back. Immediately, he was hostile towards us. He did not like our credentials.
Hey, guys.
Hey, good evening, sir.
What's up? Look how you're
How you doing? My name's Rob.
Okay.
We're out of Austin, Texas, Channel 10.
Hey, can I see your credentials?
We tried to get as much information as we could. He refused to answer our questions. So then Rob asked him for his information and where we could contact him tomorrow if we could get a word with him. He then gave it, and we left.
Speech, freelance reporter.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what are you looking for?
Well, we're following up on a report that we got, and it's that we read. It said there's 2,500 troops that are going to be deployed into Pittsburgh for the G20 for security.
Once again, do you have? I'd like to talk to your editor. I'm more than welcome to. I'm more than willing to do this. So you got somebody back at the station I can talk to? You guys have credentials for the G20? I can't. In the middle of the night, you come here tomorrow. We'll see what we can accommodate you. We're not going to.
I mean, we only got a few questions, man.
Yeah, we just have like 4 questions.
The answer is no. Not going to comment. No, I'm not. That's okay. I'm going to deny the interview. If you get some credentials, you get some that I can work with, I'll do the interview.
We didn't run away from anything. By the time that we had left, turned around, and exited the main military facility, there was another car parked on the other side of the road, waited for us to pass, followed us for an exit, then got off. And then we were shocked when Douglas got a call trying to entrap him and have us go return our rental car for quote-unquote 2 more free days. When we didn't fall for that, he then came clean and said he was actually military personnel, and he wanted to know whether or not we were terrorists, Alan.
And then he told Douglas, you're on a list now, pal, for the rest of your life.
Yeah, he did.
With pleasure. You ran from them. Is that true?
Absolutely not.
Can I have your name and number so we can call you tomorrow?
Sure.
Okay.
1-7-821. Chris Cleaver.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I need all info warriors, anyone in the Northeast, anybody in the Midwest, to go to Pittsburgh now with video cameras. The troops are bought and paid for by offshore banks. The Republic is falling right now. They are openly destroying our precious Republic right now. They are openly bringing in martial law. They have troops deploying in every major city. This is just another beta test. We need everybody to go to Pittsburgh who loves this country. Come with cameras, radio host. Everybody needs to get there and needs to expose these people. And we need people to follow the anarchists. They're going to go back to military installations. It's happened in every case. We proved it in Denver. We proved it in Ottawa. We proved it in Seattle. We proved it in London. We proved it in Genoa. We prove it every time. you've now been hit by the Army and police. This is like Kent State with sound weapons. This is huge news, and it's nowhere on TV. Cindy, tell us what happened.
We're just trying to get to downtown so we can exercise our freedom of speech, Alex. And they're blocking peaceful protesters. We don't have any weapons. They're blocking us with the most disastrous, horrible weapons that they can think of. And so, yeah, it's just really awful down here.
They have your LRAD. The LRAD was used in Iraq and Afghanistan against insurgents. You're now using these weapons against the American people. How do you feel about that?
This is all about training you that you're not supposed to protest and demonstrate. That's why the police pose as anarchists in every case. They've been caught over and over again. This is how the republic falls, with the stormtroopers in the streets and the world leaders coming to our country to sell it out and the mainstream news reporting it.
You guys are hurting your own people.
I wouldn't do that. To protest or go do any of that, I think it's nonsense. I think you're just putting yourself in danger. I know it's a constitutional right, but the New World Order system is so entrenched and so empowered, and there's so many people brainwashed that don't care. You're not going to make a difference. Like protesting, I would assume it's an attempt to wake up fellow citizens, right? To air grievances publicly, and it's meant to just, I suppose, spread the message and make aware others. But that doesn't work nowadays because the vast majority of people have their heads in the sand. They don't want to know. They don't care. They just they don't want to rock the boat. They want to keep their materialistic lifestyle and just go with the flow. They'll go along with the system. And by protesting is not a Christian, it might be an American method. It's not a Christian method. We reach individuals through the proclamation of the gospel. There's a distinction between proclamation and protest. We'll go stand and protest, or we'll go stand and proclaim the gospel, and if the military comes and arrests us, so be it. But to protest is just to put yourself in they're coming out with the SWAT teams and the military, and you're just putting yourself in danger. You're not accomplishing anything. So I think it's kind of foolish to do. I don't think that's a route that a Christian should go.
Order all those assembled to immediately disperse.
Cindy, did you know they're openly announcing the formation of a world government at this meeting?
Yes, I know they are.
The head of the EU even spoke out against it, Klaus, at the UN yesterday, and they're openly announcing the end of the dollar. Those troops don't know that their whole savings and their whole family future is gone, and there they are with pleasure, guarding the very government that is illegitimate and criminal.
The troops are out here. There are our brothers and sisters, there are our sons and daughters, and there are mothers and fathers, and they're turning their guns on us. They're turning their weapons on us, where we really should be marching to the G20 and arresting those guys. Here they come again with their LRAD, Alex. They're coming with it. They have us blocked in. There's nowhere for us to go.
This is what police state looks like! By order of the City of Pittsburgh Chief of Police, I hereby declare this to be an unlawful assembly. I order all those assembled to immediately disperse. You must leave the immediate vicinity. If you remain in this immediate vicinity, you will be in violation.
Barnes, did you say that the protesters are turned around because they're blocked in?
Yes, they are blocked in.
Run! Get out! I told you! Go down the side street, get the hell out of there, they're going to get you! Get out of there right now!
By order of the Chief of Police, clear this area, or you are subject to arrest.
Jason, are you there?
This is no longer America. This is Walmart, United States of America.
Man, if you did find yourself in this situation, I never understood why do people go with the flow, going with the crowds. Don't do that, man. I'll be dipping out side streets or climbing up on a roof and hiding somewhere. I'll be doing something. I ain't going where the crowd's going because that's where the military's going. I always thought it was so foolish that everybody just follows everybody else, you're going to get trapped.
Amazing to have Burmis and Cindy Sheehan and all these people together. They're standing against tyranny. She lost her son. And the military will follow orders, and that's all this is. And there are the bankers openly setting up world government, bankrupting us by design. It's really happening. Well, here's the Examiner newspaper reporting on these sound weapons at the Tea Parties. It says both town halls took place without incident. However, the use of military device concerned San Diegans. The LRAD crowd control is primarily used in Iraq to control insurgents and can cause serious and lasting harm to humans. And they admit this. I mean, this is just outrageous.
Other police action may include actual physical removal, the use of riot control agents and/or less lethal munitions, which could cause risk of injury to those who remain. You must leave.
I wonder if I should stop there. Alright, so that's what I got for you guys here tonight. We didn't get through a whole lot of that. I apologize, I was stopping and talking a lot, but again, it's just important to note that the reason it's important for us to know these things is because the scriptures tell us that in the last days we're going to be persecuted. You know, this new world order system that's coming is going to require allegiance to that beast system. And Christians cannot, anybody who takes that mark is going to suffer the wrath of God. And it's siding with the enemy. You know, we're not going to do that. We're not going down that road. So we're going to be persecuted. Financially, we're going to be cut off from the system, and then eventually we'll be hunted down. And this type of technology, this type of military force is going to be used against us. So we watch it to be wise, to look at their method, and to see their organization, how they're going to do things. I mean, technology advances so quick. They've got, this is 20 years ago, almost 15 years ago. They've got so much more now. They got drones that are weaponized. They got weaponized drones. I saw in San Francisco, they got like mechanical robots patrolling. That's insane. Whoever thought we'd live to see something like that? But and then, like I said, the tracking systems in all our devices. They're looking to have smart homes and smart cities to get everybody locked down within where you don't travel beyond 15 miles, everything you needed. So it's real. You are locked down and controlled and tracked. It's pretty crazy, but we watch it to have wisdom, to know, okay, if things do go down, is there anything I can do? What kind of precautions can I take? Ultimately, we're trusting ourselves to the providence of God. Nothing's going to happen to us that He doesn't allow, and anything that He does allow is for His for our ultimate good and His glory, and so we trust Him. But the scriptures tell us to be as harmless as doves, but as wise as serpents. And again, Jesus told us over and over again to watch. At the end of Mark 13, which I believe that chapter is talking about the end times, He says, "What I say to you," talking to the disciples, "I say to everyone, watch." And that word means on guard, be alert, be aware of your surroundings, have your heart prepared, know what's coming. And again, who knows whether or not it's going to come. The New World Order time frame says by 2030 they want to have everything in place. Who knows? The times are in God's hands. He could delay things for another 200 years, or things could happen, immediately. We don't know. We trust ourselves in His hand. He is in control of the times and the seasons and whatnot. All we do is walk in holiness, personal holiness. We all need to strive for that. That's our biggest struggle. That's my own personal biggest struggle. Is I don't want to suffer because I'm reaping what I sow. To suffer for Christ's sake is one thing, but to suffer because of my own foolishness is regrettable and sorrowful. So we want to walk in holiness and purity, and we want to proclaim the gospel. We want to see our loved ones saved, so that if this does kick off in our lifetime, they're prepared and they don't take the mark. And we want to so we want to proclaim the gospel. We want to walk in personal holiness, and we just want to be on guard. We want to be alert and prepared. So that's the whole purpose of this, developing a proper worldview. It's to get you to look around and go, wait a minute, I can't just live like the rest of society. I can't be wrapped up in a mindset of chasing the American dream. That can't be where my focus is. It cannot be on personal gain and riches and comfort, which we all get entrapped in that. But things like this are to make us remember and go, wait a minute, I'm in a war. There's a spiritual war going on, and I'm living in perilous times. I need to be alert. I need to be vigilant. I need to be on guard. I need to be striving. And I need to be ready. I need to have my heart prepared, that if the time comes in my lifetime where they institute a mark, I'm okay with it. I'm not taking it. Take everything I own, whatever. I'll go live in the woods. I'll flee. I'm fine with that. Have my heart prepared for that. Have my heart prepared that odds are I'll probably be persecuted. All who desire to live godly in Christ Jesus will suffer persecution. The scriptures tell us. And again, in Revelation, it says, when talking about the hardships coming, it says, here is the patience of the saints. We need to patiently endure. We need to have our hearts set that I may have to go to prison for the gospel. And again, if I go for the gospel, that is glorious. If I go for my own foolishness, that is regrettable. But if I go for Christ's sake, if I'm tortured for Christ's sake, he said, count it all joy that you've been considered worthy, not only to believe, but to suffer for my name's sake. If we suffer for him, it is glorious. So that's the intent of this, to not be afraid or anything like that, but to be prepared, to snap out of the fog this world creates for us. This fog of comfort and materialism that we live in, to snap out of that and go, whoa, I'm living in perilous times. I need to be alert and on guard. So anyways, that's what I got for you guys. Lord willing, we'll pick up here next time, and we should be able to wrap up this Police State 4 DVD and move on to the next one. We should be able to do it in one more. So, all right, I love you guys. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later.